It's day one. Your defense looks a little different than it did when you walked out of the building. Is there a vibe?
For sure. I would just say just a new year, fresh start. Back at the bottom of the mountain. New group of guys, new year. Got to earn it all over again, for good and for bad. So, it's good to have some new blood in there. Guys from different backgrounds, different perspectives, as well as some guys that have been here to keep carrying the torch and trying to push that defense over the edge. So.
As a player, obviously you're focused on your own defense. Were you aware of what Lou's done with Cincinnati's defenses before they hired him?
To be honest with you, no, I wasn't that familiar. Now I'm a huge fan of guys that Cincy's had, like Jesse Bates. That's a good friend of mine. DJ Reader, knew him since he was in Clemson. As well as a few others. So I've been a fan of players over there, but just the more I've had to obviously sit, talk with Lou, talk with Betch, watch the film of my own, go back, watch last year, watch 2023, and just see the different ways they're able to attack offenses, put themselves in positions to succeed, and take away what the offense does best. Just extremely excited to learn from a new coordinator, new coach.
What's it like to, I guess, come off your best season and kind of trying to marry that with the overall team success?
I would say, this off season, I just had a chance to really, sit back and just, pay attention more than I feel like I ever had. Just gained a new perspective on, I would just say greatness and legacy, if I'm really being honest. Just watching, other guys throughout the league face questions about who they are, on the field, off the field, and consistently overcome those things. I was just inspired, to be honest with you. I just feel like, coming in this year, obviously want to build on what I was able to do last year, but understanding that, last year is not going to earn me anything this year. So just trying to come in and be the best teammate, best leader I can be.
It sounds like the team's pretty optimistic about Jalen next to you this year. What have you seen from him? Because he had some injuries. What have you seen from him in a short span that should make him a decent match next to you?
Man, I would just say maybe I'm obviously talented. Could run, can cover. Can hit. Those are the things obviously that pop out on the film. But I would just say, just as a guy, as a young player, humble. Willing to learn, and when you out there, it's really, obviously, it's Lou's defense and, it's Shane's team, but, at the end of the day, we out there together, and I think JC just got the right mentality when it comes to that. Obviously, he's dealt with some injuries, got to get out there, got to, learn what he don't know, but I definitely think he got a chance, to be a good player.
What are some of the things you need to see from AR that will tell you he's in the right place mentally and physically?
I was just glad to see him back today. Just walking around with a smile on his face, just kind of in his work. I wouldn't necessarily say it's something that I need to see, but I'm a fan of all my teammates, and I'm their biggest cheerleader. On and off the field. So I just want to see him in good spirits. It's always a good feeling when, you in the weight room, you look over, and I don't know what the hell a quarterback does to get ready. I couldn't tell you what they're supposed to do, but if he over there doing whatever, I'm just glad to see it. If he walking wherever he's supposed to go, I don't know. I remember I used to just bump into Luck in the building. I didn't know where he was going. So, as long as he walking somewhere, I'll be glad. So I'm just glad to see AR again.
Realize you got a lot on your plate with the defense and the new teammates, but will you pay attention to the quarterback competition because it's such an inconsequential thing going on?
I mean, yes and no. Like I said, I want to best support my teammates any way that I can. I personally always feel like it's our job to try to help get the offense ready to play. Whether that's trash talking or making plays against them, I feel like that's my role. But at the end of the day, I got my battles to fight. I got my troops to lead. I got my answers to my questions to answer, just like they do. So I know they got their own situation going on, but I'm just here to help the squad.
What do you think you learned about, I guess, leadership last year? Some moments, obviously, that wish you could have taken some things back or whatever. But what you learned, I guess, just going through everything last year on and off the field?
I would just say, you know, in general, you know, I had a few conversations last year towards the end, and it was just, you know, don't let the outside stuff affect the inside stuff. I feel like, you know, for me personally, it's, you know, it's nothing that pretty much y'all can say, anybody can say, to rattle who I am, how I feel about myself, my mentality when I'm on that field. Like, you know, I play with a certain energy, a certain mentality. That's who I am. That's how I was raised. So that's never going to shake me. But I do think at a certain point I might have underestimated, you know, what that impact may have had on other guys in the room, in the building. And, you know, I had to take accountability for that and just learn from it moving forward, to be honest with you.
See, you've been in town for the majority of the offseason. I know certainly the family, the baby have a lot to do with that, but you've been really connected community-wise around the building despite having weeks off, so to speak. What's been your mindset? Why has that been something that's been a priority for you over the last few months?
Man, you know, it's funny. I've been doing this, though. Like, my off season always is like, you know, as soon as I put the helmet up, you know, I put my, you know, suit jacket on, and, you know, I look good in a suit, too. But you know, and my first thing is always trying to serve the community. You know, I whether that's in Philly, giving away scholarships, you know, Indy, you know, partnering with Coca-Cola Consolidated, helping the food bank, or, you know, Girls Flag. That stuff just keeps me grounded. It just kind of reminds me just how blessed I am to be in the position that I am. And, you know, last year was a tough year emotionally, not only just for me, but for our team. And I would just say just my run-ins with Colts fans, from, you know, the Lowe's near my house to New Orleans at the Super Bowl to, you know, everywhere I done bumped into a fan of the Indianapolis Colts. You know, just their support and their love, you know, help me keep going and get back on the saddle to keep fighting for them. So definitely appreciate it for them, and just appreciate the communities that support me. So I just want to support them. So.
Zaire, as a guy who wrote, you know, who surpassed what you were your draft situation. Do you still pay attention to the draft? Do you still root for those kind of guys? What is your kind of view on this now as a vet who's had all this success?
I'm a little bit of a hater. I mean, I look at the draft like it's stupid, but I mean, it's two sides of it, because, you know, I've been here, and, you know, I was extremely thankful for some of the guys who had the hype, who came here, who helped our team in a major way. And, you know, over the years, I've grown, as a 7th round pick, I've outgrown my first round hate, thanks to Gilly and, you know, other guys too. So, but, you know, I think at the end of the day, and I try to tell guys, like, you know, it really don't, first round, 7th round, undrafted, man, your story really starts once you get in. And I know, you know, for the young guys, you know, coming up to the draft, you know, this is their moment, you know, so, you know, it's time pretty much for the rest of us to kind of let the young guys have it. You know, this day draft day was the biggest moment of their life. It was the biggest moment of my life when it happened, and I'm happy for them. But understand, man, you know, you're just back at the bottom of the mountain. You know, as soon as you walk across that stage, as soon as you get that phone call, that's when the real grind begins. And, you know, there's been a lot of great college players, but that don't always translate to the league. So you got to make sure you keep putting that work in and keep trying to be the best player that you can be.
What number were you?
235. You thought I didn't know. I knew. Yeah, for sure. 235. Yeah.
You talked about, you know, big moments of your life, and obviously you have a daughter. How does that maybe add to motivation, perspective, whatever?
Man, I'm just blessed, bro. You know, God has just placed His hand on my life, on my family. You know, I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be more proud and thankful for my wife. And, you know, like I said, it just puts a lot of things in perspective. You know, obviously, growing my family, you know, growing up, I was just talking to somebody in the locker room, you know, growing up, I didn't really have, you know, a family. I had my cousins, and, you know, we did what our best and stuff, but, you know, just be able to have my own family unit, my own support group at home, you know, like I said, they keep me grounded, they support me, they with me through whatever, highs and lows. So it's definitely a battery in my back to keep going and keep being the best version of myself. So.
What do you think it would be like to see DJ Speed in Texas? You know,
you spicy.
you know, it's like the brotherhood of him moving on, but also knowing that, like, you want him to succeed, but you ain't ducking, you know, that opportunity either. I would imagine.
No, we ain't ducking, but man, it really hit me today. You know, I remember Speed first practice. That's the funniest thing ever. I mean, he messed up every drill like only EJ do. Yeah. and blamed everybody else. That was hate. I can't let you get that off. Nah, I mean that's my brother, man. For real, off the field, like I said, we done been through highs and lows from competitors to partners in crime. Obviously, our relationship is deeper than us just really being on the same team. Obviously, I know this is a business, and he got to do what's best for him and his family. I told him that from the beginning of last year. Like, look, my goal for you is, my hope for him was to, be able to put his family in a position to where they'd be good forever. So, obviously, he got to chase that goal and do what he got to do his best. I would have loved if he would have went to any other team other than that one, but, it is what it is. If they're on the other side, everybody get hit, so it is what it is.
Zaire, I'm doing a story on helmet safety, a colleague is. Could I ask you if you've ever changed your helmet and how much thought you put into the helmet that you put on?
I was originally a Rev Speed guy. That was a cool helmet when I was in high school and in college. I was just at the NFL competition committee when they talked about helmet safety and, heard about their goals, not necessarily to make Guardian caps a standard, but more so make it, a motivator to get safer helmets. Thankfully, Frog and the EQ guys, they do a great job. They got my helmet up to speed, so I don't have to switch. And I pretty much leave it up to them. Our EQ staff is the best in the league, so pretty much I let them direct me and get me right.